there we go.
Yeah.
Dr. Csaba Harcz.
Sounds funny.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it'll take a while to get used to it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we want to talk about project management.
Yep.
We might refer to your thesis.
Yes.
Of course, you've done a lot of work on that, but I also wanted to talk about your actual experience as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got a long track record of project management. I had the pleasure of reading your thesis, and anyone can see there's a whole career going into that, as well as the research itself. So, with your background, have you always done project management as a professional?
No. So that's quite an interesting and colorful journey I have, how I landed in project management. Or even it's already colorful how I landed even within the finance, is that because when I was young and dumb, I was a professional swimmer almost 20 years.
Wow.
So my lifestyle was channeled into a totally different path. And when my sports career ended, unfortunately, due to a sports injury, then I had to find something else which makes me happy. And someone suggested that, oh, you traveled a lot around the world. Why don't you become a foreign trader? And I grew up in Hungary in the communism. So therefore, foreign trading means that making trades between the Soviet bloc and the Western bloc.
Wow.
So it means that it's good things and let's try it. And I went to the school, and then there was a subject, it's called finance investment, and it was love at first sight.
Wow.
So since then I'm working in finance and mostly investment. And then somehow I don't know, maybe it's because I was a swimmer and I got many things from the swimming, the structure, the strategical thinking, dividing a 4-year and Olympic cycle for a 1-year plans, and within the 1 year what's the main competition. So therefore setting up long-term goals and short-term goals, somehow it was in my blood.
Right.
And I became manager, leader, I led 20-25 people back in Hungary. I was responsible for projects. I didn't run it, but I was responsible for the execution. And then when I changed the side from the business to the delivery side, to work for a vendor, that's where I got a real taste to be a project manager. And then,
can I ask, sorry, when you were in the trading, and you were responsible for the execution, would you say you were the project sponsor?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes, I was in the project sponsor. Okay. Yes, and I was in the steerco as well, who got the report about the project status. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So changing this gear from the project sponsor or project responsibility to the delivery person. So therefore, I would say it was a big challenge.
Right.
But it also helped me because I had some picture what is expected on the other side. Right. Of course, I had to learn many things about project management, that it's a people management, conflict management, boring documentation, and there is a plan which is not a plan. It's just a nice to have dream because it's always changing. So that's where I learned a lot, and since then I always been involved in projects from different perspective. Even again as a program manager, being responsible for 2 or 3 projects under one umbrella, or being a business analyst, or being a change manager.
Right. A couple of things there that I find really interesting. One was the people management part of project management.
Yes.
Is that people leadership in general? Is there any particular kind of, and you also mentioned conflict management as well. So it sounds like you need some fairly delicate skills.
You need to have some sense, because I would say that some skills can be developed and you can learn skills, but if you don't have this natural talent or sense to feel it, I had a manager who was really keen to learn about people management, and then I saw it that he was really keen to implement it, but he implemented it as the book says.
Right.
So he didn't get the point. He just wanted it because that's the new trend.
Okay.
That's the people management. But here comes that natural. So not everybody became a real leader.
Right.
They must have some natural talent for this. But what everybody, I'm not saying forget, but maybe it's a second or third priority, that the project management, it's not managing the project. It's managing the people who delivers
Right.
the project.
Uh-huh.
So therefore, the project management, it's managing people. Yes, it's a people leader. And yes, it's conflict management, because sometimes a business and the IT, they have a conflict, what they want, or even the stakeholder and the delivery team has a conflict. But again, this is people. It's about people. And if you are not able to understand, then it's really challenging, and that's why many people, many project manager can have a bad reputation, is that the project management, the project team is always changing.
Oh yeah. Right.
So if you want to be a really good or a brilliant project manager, adaptation
Right.
and knowing your team, so realizing that who is an introvert, who is an extrovert, what's that person skill, what's the best, how can you balance the different knowledge, that's a really critical situation to manage a successful project.
When you were saying that you had the manager who was trying but didn't quite get it, was he sort of reading Harvard Business Review articles and things like that, and getting the latest theories, but he didn't really internalize it, or hadn't learned that from experience?
Oh, he went to school as well to get some certification.
Okay.
So he was really keen to get this knowledge and everything, but it's not like a law, or not like the doctors, that if there is an injury, I'm giving this medicine.
Sure. Yeah.
So you got this, but because every company, every organization is different, it's just like the agile. We have the agile framework, okay, but if you wanna stuck with it, you're gonna fail.
Right.
Because of the organization structure, because of the team members, because of the project nature. So therefore, these are just a frame, and you need to decide what is applicable, what is not, what needs to be changed to do something better. Now this is the same even with the different materials about leadership. You need to analyze your current situation and what's in the textbook, and then you try to merge it.
Yeah, it's not a formula.
No.
Yeah,
it's not.
I get you.
It's
Yeah. I remember I had a manager. She wasn't a project manager, but a manager, and she would always be thinking about people's motivations. What do they like? And she would talk to me and say, that person in your team, he's an artist.
Yeah.
He's effectively an artist. Like, he's a technical person, but you can see from the diagrams he draws and the way he explains things, he's very artistic. She would notice these things. Or so-and-so is very, very, very emotional, and I know that they're stressed because of something at home. I mean, I guess I should be noticing these things myself, but that was I just think I learned a lot through that experience from someone who was... I was really amazed at how deeply she would be observing and come out of a meeting saying, did you notice so-and-so didn't say a thing in that?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. That's a black mark against me. But, very observant of people. And
I really like to cite famous people. Sir Richard Branson, the founder of the Virgin.
Yeah.
He said that customer doesn't come first. Your team comes first. And if your team is happy, your customer will be happy. Now, this is the same for the project team. If your project team is happy, they're gonna over-deliver. And how can you make them happy? That you create the environment where they feel themselves safe.
Right.
They can speak freely during a meeting.
Yeah.
Because everybody has a different background, cultural, educational, family, nationality, or even someone just like me. It's a migrant in Australia, coming from a totally different environment.
Yeah.
And everybody has a special view on a particular problem. So just because someone has a different perspective, it doesn't mean it's bad. Let's put it on the table, discover, chew it, and if it's not working, everybody accept that it's not working, but we discovered it. And that person is able to accept that, yes, okay, but the main thing is that the open and fearless communication.
Right.
That's where people are safe and they are over deliver, or they are saying in the Navy or even every army, it's really big difference between the commanders that follow me or go ahead.
Uh-huh.
Because if you create this environment, then they will follow you.
Uh-huh.
That's why many people says that leading is lead by example. But if someone is a go ahead, okay, if I do something, he's gonna throw me under the bus. Should I tell my opinion? And that's where people became silent.
Right.
And it's not good in a project. Or
So,
even any environment, I would say.
and that's created by the culture that leader has created
Yes.
before they say go ahead or follow me.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter what's the level. It's a senior level or even just the first manager or team leader. It doesn't matter. It doesn't depend on the title. It doesn't depend on the seniority. It depends on the people and on the person who's in charge.
I remember in your thesis, one of the criteria of success was it team happiness almost?
Yes.
Yeah, that
Yes,
was
exactly.
the phrase, isn't it?
Yeah.
So basically in your thesis you were checking different management levels, different roles, different stakeholder groups, and what were their criteria for success and their success variables. And I mean, maybe we should actually have a bit of an overview of that, but just on this point, because it's related to the team feeling safe and team happiness. So that was one of the criteria that
Yes,
one
the
group.
satisfaction of the project members.
Right,
How they
right.
feel themselves.
That's what it was. Right.
So, and why it's important. So, and it's just going back a little bit in the thesis. So, in the old ages, we know that project is the same age like the humans.
Right.
So just remember back building the pyramid, the Chinese Great Wall, later the castles, the knights or everything. So it was always we should call it project nowadays. And there was a treasurer.
Right. Yeah.
There was the project sponsor or director. It's a king or the pharaoh. So so we are able to match all of this.
Yeah.
Until mid 20th century, the main KPI was the scope, the quality, the time, and the cost.
Right.
But in my thesis, I presented two examples, which I'm not saying destroy this perspective, but maybe put everything into a totally different view.
And that's called the iron triangle, isn't it, by the way? The scope, cost, schedule.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
Which shows how entrenched it is, because they call it the iron triangle.
Exactly. Yeah. And some people like it to model it in 3D, because if you change one, then something needs to be sacrificed. If you want to make it faster, you need to invest more.
Right.
Or you need to sacrifice some outcome. Or if you want to do it with correct time, then still again the cost is enough or the quality, so you need to balance all of these three things.
It's like a zero-sum game between those three.
Yeah, exactly. But if you put all of this into a different perspective, and my example in my thesis is the Eiffel Tower and the Sydney Opera House. So for example, I can't recall the correct numbers, but let's play with the numbers a little bit. Sydney Opera House, they plan that it's going to be built within 5 years, and they allocated $10 million. They built it 15 years, and they spent $100 million.
Wow.
So, based on the old phrases, we would say that it's the disaster. That's in the textbook, that how you should not do this.
Right.
But the Opera House became the symbol of Sydney, Australia. Everybody knows that this is here, and this is a really big tourist attraction. It generates more than $10 million revenue for the tourist, for the government.
Oh wow! Okay.
So how would you say this is a success or it's a fail?
I mean, people would say, "Who cares?" Okay.
Yeah.
Took 15 years rather than 10.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm probably glad it took longer. You know, we got a
Yeah.
better product.
And if you think about maybe a transformation project or a program, and the first project overrun on cost, overrun on time, but you discovered all of your system,
Right.
and you already have all of your information, how the system communicate to each other, your next 2 or 3 project can be much easier
Right.
because you already have the information.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So just judging a project or an outcome based on this iron triangle, it's already outdated. We need to think much bigger, a longer
Yep.
term, a longer consequences, or the wider impact.
Yeah.
Because we might run over the budget, we might run over, but if the business user says that, yes, okay, we ran half a year later, we got the outcome, but this one is brilliant. So for example, Westpac make a transformation project, and then the client relationship manager says that, oh my God, our clients, they are in love with the outcome, but the project 6 months overrun, 6
Right.
months plus at the end. How would you call it?
Yeah.
Success or failed? No, you would say it because that's for the customers, and the customers love it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's good.
Could you say it succeeded on scope, for example, or succeeded on outcomes, but it failed on cost or it failed on time?
You can say it, but in this case you are still stuck in the old methodology.
Yeah,
I know
right.
that this is what still implemented in many people.
Yeah.
But and that's gonna be the number 1 priority to everyone. This iron triangle.
Right. You
Yeah, I
can't-
can accept. So it should take time. This
Mm.
not just my thesis, but even the success criteria and factors should be included in different project management
Right.
textbook as well, and not just this, because nowadays, based on the new research, one of the newest and I'm not saying most important, but a really important part of the project management skill set is the emotional intelligence.
Okay.
And I do not believe that this is in a PMP
Oh no.
or the Prince 2
Right.
textbook.
No. Right. Sure. Absolutely.
But the emotional intelligence, you are managing people
Yeah.
as a project manager.
If the project manager has emotional intelligence, if they have the team-centric view and not purely delivery-oriented, are they going to be more likely to be able to achieve the iron triangle? Because it means that they can.
Now
put
here
people-
comes one situation, and it's called the external circumstances. Yeah. So you have a chance that your team will follow you, and you have a really big chance that they will do everything. But if the external circumstances you are not able to control against you, you still can fail in the project management. So
Right.
project sponsor or the company decides that, oh, okay, now we're gonna cut the budget. You can't do anything.
Right.
Or they say that, okay, one of your team member is gonna be allocated to somewhere else. Or even just the resource, it's 50% of the dedicated time
Yeah.
is allocated somewhere else.
Yeah.
You still need to manage all of this.
Yeah.
But if you are able to create a safe environment, in this situation, if one of your team members is allocated somewhere else, because of the good feelings, they will
Right.
help you
Yeah.
more
Do-
than the other side. Yeah.
Right. Maybe do a better handover, do better
Yes, exactly.
documentation before they leave.
Exactly.
etc.
Or if you just call this person, he or she will pick up immediately
Right.
the
Yeah.
phone. Yes.
Just on the longer term view that you need to take, as in, I didn't even know that the Opera House was earning so much revenue.
Yeah.
It would have paid for the cost overrun many times over anyway.
Yes.
But even I was just looking up this morning the space program because I thought the lunar landing was that
Yes.
on time and in budget, because obviously
Yeah.
the outcome was exactly what JFK announced.
Yes.
And I think it was within the 60s, so they did do it in 1969
Yes.
July, so it was on time.
Yeah.
But the budget was
Yeah. But in that situation, don't
Yeah.
forget the Cold War.
right.
So they allocated the budget, but beating
Yes.
the Eastern Bloc
Right.
at any cost,
Right.
that was the number 1
Right.
scope for them.
Right.
So they allocated, okay, this is gonna go,
Yeah.
but we must be the first one. We must show
Yeah.
to the world that we are a strong nation. So
Yeah.
I do know that when the first man went to the space, Yuri Gagarin,
Right.
in Hungary, oh my God, every wall with his picture.
Really?
It was
Wow.
decorated. We are the first one.
Right.
And
right.
everything. Yeah, that
Right.
was. So that's why I'm saying the external circumstances
Yeah.
also you need to take it into account how you are able to manage.
Right.
So the good project manager is able to eliminate obstacles even before it appears,
Right.
or even you are able to think as a
Yeah.
project manager what might be the problem.
Right. Yeah.
So it's in this case you need to think outside of the box as well to
Right.
the external circumstances.
Yeah. Just that thing about foresight is so important because, I mean, personally, I'm quite delivery oriented and I feel proud of rolling up my sleeves and getting involved. But over time, I'm realizing there's a big cost to that because if you're focusing on something and you're helping the team, almost adding another 0.5 FTE or something to the project, you don't have the time to sit back and see those things coming. You know, like to talk to people and find out about things well in advance that, you know, maybe there's going to be a restructure and I'm going to lose 2 people from this project team. I won't know that. Whereas I might have had 2 weeks notice if I'd spent time just walking around, talking to people, not getting involved in the delivery. That's an important...
here comes that...
You need that space and time.
Here comes that how you are able to identify the strengths of your team and of your people. Because in this case, you are able to allocate a task. So, for example, look, you mentioned your leader that, oh, she is an artist.
Right.
Okay, let's give it. Explain, and then just jump away.
Right.
Leave it alone. And when you have free time, you go around and you try to negotiate, you try to collect information. Yeah, you need to be a little politician as well, managing these external circumstances.
Yeah. Also, you touched on in your thesis that often these days, if you've got a project team, they're not 100% on your project. Like maybe 2 of them are, but maybe the others are only 10% 1 day a week or something. And it's not mathematical 1 day a week.
No.
They might only be able to squeeze half a day a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they might actually have 3 days a week of work, but they're actually working really late nights to squeeze out what you need with their other responsibilities.
Yeah, it's the project team structure.
Yeah.
So nowadays it's really, I'm not saying a luxury situation or a typical situation that big companies, they are able to finance it, that they have dedicated project team to manage projects, and their day-to-day job is to be in the project. But many companies, they are allocating resources from the BAU, from the day-to-day.
Right.
And in this case, there is 99%, there is always a conflict between the project manager and between the day-to-day manager. And between them, there is the resource.
Right.
And who should decide that, okay, which is less painful for her or for herself or himself. Because that person needs to deliver a day-to-day project, but also needs to deliver something in the project as well. So therefore it's quite hard to decide. And here comes the negotiation that, okay, mate, what's your critical period? So for example, here in Australia, the financial year ends in end of June. So okay, 2 weeks before the end year, and 1 month after, is it okay for you? That's 6 weeks. Okay, I'm not gonna touch, I'm not gonna call anyone from your team. Is it okay? So you need to take into account this period in the project plan as well. And in this case, that task needs to be allocated somewhere.
Right.
So but all of these can be managed if you negotiate, if you go to people, if you collect information, and if you look after your team.
Yeah, you can't leave it up to the poor project team member who's trying to do their best for 2 managers.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And here comes that you need to think about this even when you are setting up a project in January, let's say. Okay, that is the end of the year. Someone is coming, okay, how we are able to manage it. Let's add some extra somewhere, and maybe we can get another help from another team.
About the idea of having a broader view of project success. It's not just about cost, schedule, and outcomes. I was just reading and listening to a podcast about projects and tech projects in particular, actually tech projects, infrastructure projects, any capital intensive project, construction projects, a very large proportion of them are, they go over budget, over the schedule. And apparently tech projects are the worst. And that's the domain I'm in, IT. I've always been in IT kind of projects. Apparently 70% of them go over time, over budget. And apparently there's a significant percentage that actually threaten the existence of the company. I think it was saying 18% of the ones that go over time and over budget are so far over that they threaten the existence of the company. That can't be a good thing.
Oh, no, it can't be.
Right.
It depends. It depends again.
Right,
so
right,
it depends. Because, if you watch it from the company existence, if it's a threat, it's a disaster. You can't allow it. Yes, from the business perspective. But if you look at the other side, so for example, in an infrastructure project, you need to build a new metro.
Right.
You have imagination. What is it underneath? It's a rock, or something. But you are facing the real situation, the real world when you are there.
Right.
And if you are facing with something, so here let me refer back again to the Sydney Opera House. The structure, how it's built. Originally, it wasn't a plan.
Oh, right.
And the architecture or who drew it, he got the idea from the basketball.
Really? Oh.
Just check. Was the basketball?
Oh yes, the
and
sectors.
they just cut it half, and oh my God, that's it. Yes.
Right.
Yes. So during the construction, they realized that oh my God, that's really good. That's really brilliant.
Yeah.
And that's what they built. And even nowadays, we are living in the 21st century. This is the technology era.
Right.
You start building something, and you start connect many new infrastructures, many new computers or softwares or anything, or even nowadays the blockchain. One of the biggest challenges within the blockchain that how they can communicate to each others.
Right.
Because not many of them is able to communicate because everything is built based on a specific logic. How the blockchain connect and exchange information.
Right.
So if you are working in a software development in a technology and you want to play a safety or a safe game, you need to calculate the overrunning, even the time and even the budget.
Right.
But therefore, here comes again the adaptability. How fast are you able to change the direction or the gear? Or what's the knowledge of the stakeholders? Because sometimes the stakeholders have no idea what's about the project. They are just saying, oh, I don't care, let's take $10 million out of the budget. Okay, now everything is out of the window because you have no money. Because they allocated somewhere else. So unfortunately, it's a really big problem. And my experience is also that 90% of the project, they overrun something.
Yeah, and that just makes me think that if it is so systemic that it always happens, doesn't mean that the whole idea of setting a schedule and a budget at the beginning seems to be wrong. I mean, should we actually be doing more experimentation or do a trial run before we commit to a schedule and budget?
Oh, it's called the proof of concept, usually.
Right.
But this one is also requires budget and time.
Right.
So this you can't do a proof of concept that okay, I don't know when should be delivered the outcome.
Right.
You don't know that okay, no, I need to hire a consulting company to do the proof of concept because none of my team members have this knowledge because we want to implement a new software, but let's see that software in the company environment really works and can be connected to the company ledger or something.
Right.
You still need budget. You still need allocation.
Right.
And why is it good? Because it's an actual versus budget. You need to track where you are. So okay, you make a plan, you make a budget. Hopefully it's realistic, and it's not a fairy tale.
Right.
But you need to be able to track the progress. Because if you just say that, oh, okay, let's deliver, and 5 years later it's still in delivery phase, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. And you also need to be, that's why the planning is good. you also need to discover what's the different steps, because even technology and technology project, there is a really big difference. It's a full waterfall, or it's a waterfall and agile mix, or it's a full agile, because all of them has an impact how you gonna execute and how you gonna plan it.
Right. Yeah, I find we all want more agile these days, because you can have multiple streams working in parallel. Otherwise, you've got people waiting and doing nothing. Well, they're not doing nothing. They're probably working on another project, but it means your project can't move forward while they wait for this big deliverable before the next phase can start. Whereas if they could have waited for just a smaller deliverable, they could have started earlier. So then they're working away and moving things forward while this first part is also moving forward.
Yeah, nowadays it's a really big challenge. What I saw is that many companies want to implement the agile, because now it's really speedy, it's really outcome, let's say in every 2 weeks or every month, which is good.
Yeah.
But in a complex project, you still have dependencies.
Right.
So you in a house, for example, you want to run in an agile. Okay, let's build the roof, but excuse me, I don't have the foundation.
Right,
so I don't have the ground floor.
Yeah.
So what am I able to do with this?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying that nowadays you need to be really careful how you run and how you plan your project. That's why you need the plan.
Right.
First of all.
Yeah.
Because you are able to decide that the whole project can be run as an agile, or it's still the classic waterfall.
Yeah.
But within the waterfall steps, you are able to do the agile. And in this case, yes, it goes independence still there. You are able to plan your resources that, okay, that resource is allocated to somewhere, but you already raised that in 3 months' time, I'm gonna need him.
Yeah. It's not just a blanket agile or waterfall. You've got to look at your particular needs in that project.
Yeah, exactly. So here comes again the adaptability, the flexibility from a project manager, which is a really key things nowadays.
Yeah. Let's go to your thesis and the success criteria and the success variables.
Yes.
So, what was the hypothesis that you started with, and what was your finding?
I used the null hypothesis. So I said that something has no impact on something.
Right.
So in my case, I said that based on the project member position within the project team, has no impact on the success of the project.
Right. So, like the project manager versus
Yes.
a team member versus project sponsor.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
It has no impact on the outcome.
Right.
And in this case, I created 2 questions, that the project success factors and the project success criteria. So there is no difference in the judgment or picking up these criteria and factors. And the other hypothesis was that the experience has no impact on the project judgment of the outcome of the project.
So let's just think about that to start with. So you would think on the face of it, on my initial thought, that the definition of success of the project for the project sponsor would be quite different from a team member, because they've got such a different perspective.
So that I
mean, they're talking to, I don't know, the CEO or people who are very senior, someone in the project who's a technical person, maybe they're doing coding or whatever. They're going to have a very different point of view, and if it goes over, to be honest, they may not care very much. Like, they might be doing some very interesting work, and they know they're contributing a lot. Unfortunately, it's just taken longer than expected.
Yeah.
But to them, it's still overall a success.
Yeah.
Whereas the sponsor, you'd be thinking it's their worst nightmare to go into their boss's office to say, sorry, it's going to be another 3 months, and it's going to cost another $1 million or whatever.
Yeah, you are right. That's the real life.
Right.
And when I started to write my thesis, and the thesis, one of the big part of the thesis, or every thesis, any doctorate, it's not just mine, it's called a literature review.
Okay.
So I read many articles, books, part of the books, chapters, everything. And even when other researchers already identified these success factors and success criteria, what I realized that none of them separated the company or the analyzed company. So they measured them as one.
Right.
But you don't need to go to a project. If you just think about the company structure, you have marketing, you have sales, you have IT, you have finance, you have customer relationship, you have branches. So all of them has a different point or different opinion about projects.
Yeah.
So all of these previous research, they didn't separate it.
Is that right?
Yes.
This was a new idea in the academic literature.
I would say that it was a new for me, that I separated it. So now I got the project members, and I created three categories. Project management, including project sponsors, project director, program manager, project manager. So all of these people who are, let's say, above the delivery part. The second was the IT and business analyst, and I combined them based on the nature that they are supports and they bring the technical knowledge, let's say this, and the third part is the end users.
Right.
So that's why it was for me a little surprising, because everybody believes that they have different opinion. No, based on my thesis, I'm able to tell that there is one common point in the success criteria, and they had three in the success factors. So they have common point, which true for three categories, and two, there are many.
Right.
So there are many common points between these three groups.
And it wasn't statistically significantly different.
No.
Right. Okay.
No. But they have difference.
Yeah.
And if we know this, we are able to set up, and especially nowadays due to the AI, if we are able to set up the SES status, what is important for the different groups, we are able to focus on it a little bit if it needs to be improved, because the AI is coming. So for example, the speed of the information, quality of the information, these are success factors, but success criteria, sorry. But now because the AI is coming, the speed, it's out of question.
Right.
Because you enter it into the system and it's immediately available. Or even if you just think about the Miro, it's a really communicative, have you heard about that? No.
Yeah.
The Miro, it's imagine it like a post-it, online post-it system.
Okay.
So many people is able to come in, and just like the post-it on the wall, everybody's write something in a post-it, and you are able to place it in different, just creating a user story.
Okay.
Or even just a backlog.
Okay.
In the Scrum or anywhere. So in this case, information is available immediately. You are able to change it immediately. And it's because it's available for everyone, real time, therefore the speed and the quality of the information is already improved.
Right.
You don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, right. So gathering, so are you saying that means that it becomes more uniform because we can gather from these different people and combine their views so that they align more quickly?
I would say that the satisfaction of the project members and the delay in the project due to the information,
right.
Therefore you are able to escalate it. You are able to solve it.
Right.
It's just, but it's just one, quickly. Yeah, exactly. Or even due to the nowadays SharePoint, for example,
right.
that you are able to work on a document in real time.
Yeah.
Feedback.
Yeah.
This is one success factor. It's coming from the business. So you wrote the BRD, you open it, and you are able to walk through on it, and you have immediate feedback as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding. The delay now is about how quickly people can work on things. It's about the human effort.
Yes.
Whereas probably taking it for granted now, but you go back 10 or 20 years, it would have been how long does it take to get the document from one person to another and for them to understand it, and just the transfer of information was now it's just not an issue at all.
No.
Think about it.
No, if I just thinking back 20 years ago, organizing a meeting, it was, I'm not saying that it was a mission impossible, but it was challenging. Nowadays, thanks to Zoom, thanks to Teams,
Yeah.
you don't need to leave your space. You are just, okay, I'm here and I'm available.
Yeah.
Or even you are just ping someone that, hey, do you have 15 minutes because I would like to ask something about that problem, that do I interpret it correctly or not? And that's it. Previously it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't there.
And on the years of experience, so what were the findings on
That
the
there
differences
is
between them?
based on the findings that there is no impact.
Right.
There is no impact. It might be because my the data I gathered, it wasn't enough.
Right.
So if this research can be extended, a bigger one, because I was able to get more than 300 responses, but maybe 3,000 would give us a different one, because we would have more and more information from the different participants.
Yeah, because you mentioned for the different levels or the different stakeholder groups, there were differences. They just weren't very large. But if you could drill down on the differences, you might learn a lot more about the differences.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Let me just. Oh yeah, just so on the survey. So I remember your methodology was you made sure that it was very uniform, I guess, between the different participants, so that there was no chance of ambiguity. Everybody had the same information in front of them.
Yes.
And that sounds like a very structured way of collecting information, and lends itself to statistical analysis.
Yes, because there is what I used. It was the survey. Why the survey is good? Because it doesn't require any human interaction. You don't need to follow up. You don't need to have a conversation, and you are able to exclude your personal opinion.
Right.
So it's not you who picks, or even the researcher who decides which information will be included in the topic or which is going to be excluded. So therefore a survey, everybody got exactly the same survey. Everybody had exactly the same opportunity to scale the question in 1 to 6.
Right.
How important, for example, the communication, the feedback, the project support from the higher level. Is it really important for me? Yeah, it's 6. If it's not, then it's 1. And it was obvious questions and it was closed questions. So it's the closed question and the open question. We are doing open questions.
Right.
So you ask something, I'm telling my opinion, and you are asking back. Now in a survey, you don't need to do that. So that's the positivity of the survey, that you make a really clear question, they answer it, and the answer is not a subjective opinion. It's a really objective and measurable answer. Is it important? 1 to 6. 6, yes. 1, 0.
Right.
Not important. And you are able to translate it and upload it into a statistics software, and then you are able to make the different analysis. But if you do an interview, you have to decide that what you want to include into your research.
Sure. Yeah.
So therefore your personal opinion, your personal impact is immediately there.
But I guess using AI tools and so on, you could use that to extract information in a more uniform way amongst the interviews. But it's a different ball game.
Oh yeah, no. Nowadays, the schools are really sensitive to the AI, and there is already a AI detector software, so they are able to realize it. But to do analysis, there are really good statistics softwares. You are able to use it. So the AI, it's pretty good. But maybe from this perspective, they still need to develop themselves.
Speaking of AI, so I know that PMI, the Project Management Institute, they've got some AI tools now that they're rolling out, and as a member, I've got the chance to test. Every member of PMI, you can volunteer for different things, and one of the things they're asking for volunteers for is testing their new AI tools. But I'm just finding in the projects that I'm in now, when we go through the planning process, it's still very much like it always was. I mean, and I don't know how AI can change that, because you're still thinking what needs to be done, how long will it take? Like, there's a bit of linear analysis there, like with us, we might have to interpret certain documents and might use those documents to help migrate from one system to another.
Mm-hmm.
So it's how many of them do we have? Well, it took a week for 5, and we've got 500, so that's 100 weeks.
Yeah.
Of person time, and there's sort of that linear analysis, but then you're going to get faster as you go, you know.
Yeah.
So you sort of make these assumptions based on percentages.
Yeah.
It's very crude, but I don't know how we can really change that at the moment without doing maybe some trials, like a POC, a proof of concept. That way you could maybe, but the problem is you're going to hit some object in your process which is way more complex than the ones before that may not have been in the proof of concept, or like you were saying, you might be building a metro.
Yep.
And maybe you've checked a certain amount, you've surveyed a certain amount of the ground, but then at one point, which you never knew, you're going to hit a certain kind of rock that you never foresaw, and that just destroys your plans completely because you just didn't foresee it.
Yeah, but to solve this problem, it doesn't matter that AI is there or not. Where the AI is able to help you is that try to think the AI like yourself. You were born, yeah? You learned to walk. You learned to speak. And everybody was happy. And then your parents was expecting you to stay quiet and stay on one place, yeah? And then you go to school. You learn to write. You learn to read. So where the AI is able to help you is that now during these phases, more and more input goes into the system, the AI is able to develop itself.
Mm-hmm.
So now if we say that, okay, I have a technology, maybe in 5 years' time we're gonna go there, okay, I have a technology project, that's the starting date, that's the phases, and the AI is gonna say, here's your project plan.
Right, yeah.
Within an hour.
Yeah. But it still won't be able to foresee those things that we can't foresee as humans.
Exactly. One of my colleagues in the software developer company told me that the program or the software will do what is it programmed inside. So it's not able to do the magic that, oh, I see what you're gonna push it, so now I'm gonna push it instead of you. No, it follows the code.
Right.
So this is the same with the AI as well.
Yeah.
At the beginning, you are inputting, if I can use this word. Yeah, you are just data entry. That's it.
Yeah.
You're gonna enter, and then the AI will be able to allocate the task automatically. The AI will be able to, if you change the end date of one phase, automatically change it immediately in real time. I know that today we have the many softwares which is able to do this, but maybe the fastness or the speed of changing this one, or even the dependencies, because the AI is able to learn.
Yeah.
Therefore, the outcome it's gonna be different.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess things like tracking JIRA tickets. Like we put a due date in JIRA tickets, you can get a report on where are they at and whether you're overdue or not. But then linking that to your project plan and forecasting what impact that's going to have, and give you an instant report. The way we're tracking, here's your new end date. It's not 30th of June, it's actually 30th of July.
Yeah. That's a really good example, because you have the project plan and you have the JIRA tickets.
Yeah.
You have epic, story, task, and everything. And as you close an epic, you have to update your project plan as well. And you have, but this one is just a communication.
Yeah.
So everything can be implemented into the AI, or an AI is connected to these softwares.
Yeah.
Then you are able to manage everything within one program.
Yeah.
So it's challenging, it's dangerous. Just remember the Terminator movie.
Right. Yeah.
When it rises. So, but it's a really exciting time, honestly.
On the people side of it, speaking of AI, just made me think about on the people side, there are some non-linear things that you can get there. Like someone in your team might develop a really effective automation that your project plan didn't have. And it's like, well, now we've got this automation. All these things that we thought would take, a week each will now take 10 seconds each. I suppose that's linked to the safety idea, that people need to feel safe to propose
Yes.
that, like, is it all right if I spend the next 3 days on this automation? It might not work, but if it does work, it will be really good. You know, can I have a go?
Yeah.
So it's like creating that environment of safety so that people have their suggestions and
Yeah.
have the time.
Yeah. That's a really good example, because in this case, everybody is heard.
Yeah.
Everybody can have an opportunity
Yeah.
to show the skills or everything.
Mm.
I already told you that I really like to use famous or smart people
Yeah.
saying, and here is the NVIDIA CEO.
All right. Mm.
Nowadays, let's say that he's a really smart person. Yeah.
I would say so.
Yes. And he said that we shouldn't misunderstand him, but he said that he doesn't believe that a degree from a really well-known college, that should be the number one criteria nowadays. Because for the coding, here is the AI, here is a ChatGPT or anything. What is nowadays, it's gonna be really important, okay, apart from the college degree, because it can give you some base knowledge, is that how the people is thinking. Because using the ChatGPT or any AI tool and using it correctly, it's two different things.
Right.
So how you phrase your questions, how you use it, and that's going to be the challenge, the future challenge. And as you mentioned, to achieve this one, you need people, you need person who is thinking. So if someone has an idea that, okay, give me 3 days to deliver this automation, you can think about that, oh yeah, it's worth the risk to do that.
Yeah.
You give it. But what's the main information here is that person is able to think something.
Right.
Not just deliver and not just focusing on that, okay, that's my task and I'm within the box and I'm not looking around. No. That's going to be the challenge for everyone, not just the project manager, to thinking outside of the box and how you are able to cooperate with a person or with the software.
Right. Mm. Yeah, I mean, even writing code, you don't need to learn to write code.
No.
ChatGPT can. You can say, give me a Python script that does this.
Yeah.
And there you go. I mean, you
I saw,
don't need to do much.
Yeah, exactly. I saw a video on the Facebook or TikTok, or I don't know which one. Sorry, I hope it's not the marketing. But where, okay, I would like to get a web page with the logo, and that would be the web page topic or everything. And okay, here's the HTML. Not just copy, paste, and everything is there. And that was the AI, that was the software.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the person said that I have no idea about the brackets or the codes or what it
Right.
is.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they didn't need to.
Yeah, you don't need to. Yeah. Is that how you use it?
Yeah. Well, let's wrap up now. I think it's time to close. But are there any closing comments you would have for people who are project managers, project participants, project sponsors, or even touching a project in some way indirectly, which is pretty much everybody?
Yeah. Something maybe valuable as a lesson is that what I really like to think about myself is that I have cross-functional experience. So is that try to place, even if you don't have real experience from the business side or from the vendor side or from the delivery side, it's always worth to sit down and think with the other side head.
Okay.
So just don't stick on one place, because you are there to deliver something with someone.
Right.
So always try to be open. And to be open, you need to gain some experience, real life experience. Or if you don't have this opportunity, then try to develop yourself. So the self-development, it's a never-ending story.
Uh-huh.
If you are able to go to a TAFE course to get some finance knowledge, it will help you immediately to understand the language or even their thinking. Because it's sometimes it's a problem that in my field is finance is a finance, IT is an IT. They talk to each other but never met.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Never met, because they interpret. I really like to use this example that in treasury, in investment, there is an acronym IRS.
Uh-huh.
is the internal rate swap.
Okay.
It's a product. But I worked for a software developer company where the company had a module. It's called IRS, Intelligent Report System.
Okay.
So if one side says IRS, will it mean the same to you or it's a different one? So gaining cross-functional knowledge and placing yourself to the other person's shoes,
Yep.
that's really valuable. And in this case, you are able to bring that person on into your side as well.
Right. Yep. That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Harcz. Much appreciated. It's great to talk.
Oh, welcome, and thanks for the interview.